Okay, we can start.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Stanislav. You can call me Stan. Right now, I'm working as an SDET at one of the biggest IT companies here in Silicon Valley. I'm the teacher of the JavaScript basics coding. And here today, we will be working, today's theme is variables. So to do that, let me introduce you the end project, the end thing that we want to build. It's right here. We're gonna build a calculator. As you can see here, simple calculator. It has what's about the functionality. It has a first number, then it has a second number field, and we have some sort of the result. So let me put some values inside of it. Let's check if our calculator actually works or not. So I put value 4, for example, here, then value 5, and then I want to add those numbers. And yeah, it working. Let's check on decimal numbers right now. For example, 4.3, 2.6, and I want to check subtraction. Subtraction also works. So our goal to create the same calculator. To do that, I'm gonna create, as you can see, actually, you can see that this is one of the components that we will be using. So the main idea, what's the main idea? Every single web page is consisted of 3 elements. The first one is HTML. The second one is CSS, and the third one is JS. So imagine that HTML is just like all those 3 components together. They're like a human body. So HTML is just like a simple skeleton. CSS is just like a skin. So it makes us beauty. It makes us it defines our skin, if we tall, small, and so on. And JavaScript is our muscles. It helps us to move, and it represents actually the functionality. So if we inspect this page over here, we can see that it has a doc type HTML. So this thing over here is being used if it helps our browser, it tells our browser what kind of the doc type to expect. In this case, we are using the latest HTML version 5. Then you can see HTML tag over here. It starts over here. It has an opening tag HTML and it has a closing tag HTML. So imagine this thing, this structure, just like a human body. So HTML is just like the whole human body. Then it has tag head inside of it, just like every human have. It has some content inside of it, and then we have a body. That's it. So our project right now is blank and it has nothing in it. And let's read the documentation if we want to start. So to create a project folder. So I want to create a project folder and name it JS Calculator. In your Finder, you have to create the same folder, name it JS Calculator, then click on it, and then inside of it, I want you to create the following 2 files. The first one is calculator.html, and the second one calculator.js. Then you have to download the Visual Studio Code. I attach the link to this video, and it can be found here in the actual documentation file. If you click on it, it will redirect you to the Visual Studio Code download page. You can download it either for Windows, Linux, or Mac, whatever works for you. Go to Simple Steps and click on the download button, and you're good to go. Once you downloaded it, all you have to do is just to open the folder, create this folder, Let me try to reproduce it. So I'm gonna click on VS Code, and then from here, I'm gonna open folder. Then I'm choosing JS calculator over here, and I click select folder. So now expected result is I should be able to see in this left corner, left window, calculator.html and calculator.js. You do not have to necessarily see the README file MD because the README.md, this is actual documentation. So now open calculator.html file. Okay, now I open it now and paste this code. Okay, I can paste it. Right now, I've copy and pasted this code over here. So how do I run my code, or how do I see my changes? All I have to do is just to right click on this file, calculator.html file, and then reveal in File Explorer. So right here. So as you can see, I have a window opened, JS calculator, and I see calculator.html file over here. So if I click on it, I should be able to see the blank page because there is no content inside of it. So let's start filling our body. And I switch back to documentation, and here we describe what actually those tags are meaning. The doc type means for the latest HTML5 version. HTML is just a tag, and there's a container for the other HTML elements. And you can get familiar with those with this HTML tags over here in this section. Now, step number 5, add tag title, calculator inside tag head. And as a result, calculator.html file looks the following. So we have to copy this guy and add it into our head. So from README file, I navigate to my calculator.html file and paste it right here. So do not forget to if you make any changes in your code over here, you have to manually save it. But what I suggest is to click autosave. That functionality will automatically save all the changes that you are making right now in your files. So make sure that you have a check mark on autosave. Okay, should be right here. Okay, now I go to my page, and if I made some changes, I have to refresh the page, reload this page. I reload it, and nothing happens. We still see the blank window over here, but if you click on inspect element or inspect the web page, it should be under settings or developer tools, Ctrl+Shift+I for Windows users. You click on it, you can see that now you are having here the same structure, just like what your Visual Studio Code shows. It should be the same. And we have here head and title, calculator. You can ask me where we can see the calculator, the word calculator, but it's right here. So our tag head contains the title. So why the people are using actually tag title? So there are three main reasons for that one. Tag title defines the title in the web browser toolbar. It should be right here, can be displayed right here. It provides a title for the page when it's not added to the favorites. There is a favorites button over here, functionality, and it displays the title for the page in search engine results. So once you Google for the page that you will be looking, in this case, it's calculator, it should have some sort of the name. And in this case, it will be a calculator. That is why the tag title is very important, and try to keep this tag in your HTML file very important. And everything, I forgot to tell you, everything what your head does, this content, this content is invisible, will be invisible on your web page. But as for the body, what you put in your body, that content will be visible on your actual web page. So let's start filling our body, tag body. Switch back to documentation. And it describes actually what the title does, tag title does. And now let's go to our next step, the step number 6. Add tag h1 right here into your tag body. Okay, we have to copy this guy and paste it right here into our tag body. So what we've done, we added a heading h1 tag from tags from h1 to h6. Those tags are being used to define the headings of the HTML page. H1 is the biggest one, H6 is the smallest one. Let me show you one small example how it works. For example, I'm gonna create tag H6 and I say this is the smallest heading. So you can compare now H1 and against H6. I go to my page. Do not forget to refresh the page. I click on refresh the page. Now you can see the heading calculator, how big the heading calculator H1 and how small heading H6 is. And those changes are being displayed in our tag body, as you can see. So I use tag H6 just for the training purposes, so I do not need this guy anymore. So I delete it and I refresh the page and there is nothing inside of it right now. So let's go back to our documentation file over here. Now calculator.html file looks like this. Okay, seems like we having the same structure. And let's go to the next step. We put the word my calculator inside tag h1 to define HTML heading. Okay, that's been done. So now paste the following code. Okay, I should copy this guy and I should put it right after my tag h1. Okay, after this h1, I'm gonna paste this code over here. Let me add some spacing over here. And so what we've basically done, we've added tag div defines the container for the HTML elements. Imagine it works just like a regular box where you can put a lot of information or HTML elements, in this case, inside of that container. And if you noticed, I added the attribute ID first number. Why I added the ID first number? To define this attribute ID is being used to give unique name to my container div in this case. So if we go back to example that I showed you before, this one, this first number has a unique ID, and we will be using this ID later in this project. I will show you how, and I will explain you why we need this guy, first number heading here. And on the second step, I added inside of my div, I put only one element right now, and this element is H5. Inside of it, we have a first number, and I added attribute ID, which is first number heading. So that's it. Let me go back to our web page and I refresh the page again. And as expected result, it should be there should be H5 heading displayed, first number, it's right here. So inside of my body, I have h1 here heading, and then I have a tag div, and inside of it, I have tag h5 first number right here. So all we need. So using the same strategy, if we go to our example, I do have here second number and the result. Let me add those sections using the same strategy. So I'm gonna just copy it and paste it right here. So instead of the first number, I put second number. And instead of the first number heading, I put second number heading. And don't forget to update the content. Second number. And here in this case, I will have result number. Result number. And in this case, I will be having, instead of the first number, I will have result heading. And instead of the result over here. Don't worry, guys, those steps are described here in my document file over here, and you can just follow all those steps. Using the same idea from the step 7, copy, and paste those files. Second number, create second number with this heading and the result number with this heading. As a result, your file should be looking like, okay, like this. And I guess, okay, like this. Okay, and I guess my HTML file has the same structure. Yeah, so now let's switch back and let me refresh the page. So if we look on the body, we can see that it has an H1 and then 3 different divs. The first one is first number, second number, and the result number. And inside of each div, we have heading H5 first number heading, then we have second number heading, and in the last div we have a heading result heading and some content inside of it. So since today's theme are variables, we're gonna use variables. How do we use those variables? We're gonna use JavaScript. So how do we connect JavaScript to our HTML file? So it's pretty straightforward. In our tag head, we can create a tag script, and inside of it we have to add attribute source, and then double quotes, and then from this list, if you have already created a calculator.js file right here, you should be able to choose that file specific right here. So that's all we need. Now we click on the calculator.js file, and let's read the documentation. What should we do according to the documentation? So open calculator.js. So paste the following. Okay, so we added our script source calculator.js file, and now we have to open calculator.js file and paste the following function inside of it. Window onload. I'm gonna copy it, and inside of my calculator.js file, I'm gonna paste it. So this function will be executed. This function will be executed when the window has been loaded. So actually, what's gonna happen whenever we try to open this page, onload, this function onload will be triggered, and the code inside of it will be executed. So now let's fill this function with our variables. So what we have to do? So to create a variable, first number variable heading and assign value first number and put it inside function window on load. Okay. I can just copy it and paste it right here. So in this case, what we've done, there are different ways to declare the variable. Here we have, if we look on the structure, we have a declaration keyword, which is let. There are two more, for example, there are var, and you can declare a variable using the const. So the var, it's just like a old legacy and people are not using it anymore. So as for right now, there are only two main keywords. The first one is let and the second one is const. What's the difference between those two? In the first case, after declaring the variable, we can change the value of this variable. But in the second case, if we declare the variable using the const keyword, that means that we are not allowed to change the value of our variable. So that is why I used let in this case. So what's the next step? Okay, we open README file again. And then we say that after declaring let first name variable heading first number, paste this guy. So we have here document get element by ID, first number heading dot inner HTML first number variable heading. What does this construction mean? Doc element by ID, this construction over here says our browser that we need to get an element. What kind of the element? Get it by ID. What ID are we talking about? So if we go back to our calculator.html file right here, you can see that heading H5 ID first number heading is the same as this one guy over here. That means, with that said, that we are referring to this specific HTML element over here on this in our calculator.html file. So, and we are saying that instead of its content, use the content from the variable first number variable heading, which is first number. And if you click on it, this is the same exact variable as this one. So we created a variable first number variable heading, and then we said, hey, first number browser, get element by ID, which is first number heading, and then assign the value of the variable first number variable heading inside of it. And that's it. So what it gives us as a result. So if I click on the refresh page, nothing happens, you see? But if I delete the content, its content of H5, you see? So expected result, I should be see nothing. But if I refresh the page, I still see the first number. So what's the deal is the information or the content of the H5 in this case, which has the following attribute ID first number heading, is referring to our calculator.js file where it has the variable first number variable heading and the value of it, it's right here. If we change the value, for example, to something else, for example, hello world. So I expect to see instead of the first number, hello world, and I do see it once I refresh the page. It's hello world. Let's switch it back to first number. So it's right here. So let me refresh the page to show you that everything works as expected. And using the same strategy, let's create a second number and a result. So what I have to do is just to copy it and paste it. Copy and paste. So instead of the first number variable heading, let me name it second number variable heading, and I should update the content as well. Second number, and instead of the first number, use second number. Second number, I should copy it and paste it right here, because since the variable has been changed, I have to update it as well as here, because now in this case, I will be using the value of this variable. That is why I have to update it here as well. Otherwise, it will be referring to the, it will be using the value of this variable, which is not okay. This is actually what we do not want to see. So, and as for the naming of the variables, why I have decided to choose these long names, because when you guys join the actual, like the real project, try to use the name, try to pick the names which will describe its content or its value in the best way. So the name of the variable should describe why you decided to choose this specific name. For example, second number, this variable is used for assigning the second number variable. And where did I use it? In heading. So that is why it's second number variable heading. So it's kind of pretty straightforward. So as for, and I have the last one. This is the result number or result heading. I create a variable result variable heading, and here as its value, I put result. Now I have to update the get element by ID, what the ID of this heading, result heading. Okay, I have to copy it and then paste it right here. So you see that the result variable heading, the name of it, it's a little bit dimmed, and that means that the actual Visual Studio Code helps you, or it's just saying that, hey, you declared the variable result variable heading, but this variable is not being used in our project. So the better you better use it. So how do I use it? I assign document get element by ID, its content, to my variable result variable heading, and that's it. So if I go back, I am allowed to delete second number and the result, and my expected result, I should be able to see the content. So nothing should be changed. Click refresh and nothing changed. So this is pretty much it. And I expect you guys to follow all those steps in your homework, and I will be very happy to see you on my next class. Feel free to ask any questions in the Slack channel, and I will be very happy to answer those questions. Yeah, this is pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Bye.